Olivia, and I'm an Alateen.
Hi, Olivia.
First, I would like to thank you for inviting me to share my story. It's an honor to be able to help others with my experience. I'm 11 years old and in the 6th grade. I'm here to tell you what it was like, what happened, and what it is like now. My mom is an alcoholic, and my dad is an alcoholic and an addict. My mom also struggles with emotional disorders like anxiety and depression, which makes it hard for her to live life. My mom and dad split up when I was 18 months old. This was very hard on my mom, and she didn't know how to handle it, so she started drinking very heavily. At the time, I didn't understand what was going on, but when I was little, kids would ask me who I live with, and I would say, my mom. Then they would brag and say, well, I live with both of my parents, and it made me really sad. But as I grew up, I came to realize that my mom and my dad weren't happy when they were together and got along when they were apart. I just wanted them both to be happy. So now when people ask me who I live with and I say my mom and they begin to brag, it doesn't bother me as much. When I was 2 years old, my mom got married and we moved to Bridge City. During this time, my mom and my stepdad were drinking all night and put the responsibilities on my stepsister. She took care of me along with herself only at the age of 10. My mom and my stepdad only stayed married for 13 months and then divorced. This was a very hard time on me because I loved my stepdad and stepsister a lot, and I still do to this day. She was mean to me at times, but I can't blame her. They have both always been there when I needed them, even after the divorce. We moved several times after that. My mom continued to drink until June 2008. This is when she started to go to AA for the first time, but soon afterwards, in October 2009, she started to drink again. At a very young age, I started to take care of both myself and my mom. I did things like cook myself supper, wake myself up for school, wash my own clothes, clean the house, and more. My grandparents would take me to school in the morning, but I wouldn't tell them how much my mom was drinking. As a matter of fact, I lived in fear to tell anyone about her drinking because I knew that they would most likely try to take me away from my mom. I would always stay outside with my friends at night because I didn't want to come home to a drunken mom who was passed out on the couch. I never knew what I would be coming home to. There was always some new random stranger in my house every night, and there would be beer bottles and broken things all around the house from them arguing. If I was there when the fight started, I felt like it was my responsibility to make them stop. But when I got in the middle of it, I only seemed to make things worse, and sometimes I would get hurt. When I came to Alateen, I learned not to bother them. Mind my own business. It helps if you don't listen to them. Put in your earbuds and turn your music up, or find something that interests you. Just make sure you don't get into their argument. Growing up, I not only saw drinking in the home, but witnessed any and every kind of drug use from other people. It didn't seem to bother them that there was a child trying to live there too. Everything was all scattered about, and I would have to be careful what I touched and where I walked. Our home became a place to come and do both. My mom would usually drink outside, and there were times where I would find her passed out in the yard and would have to lead her to the bed after making sure she was okay. I never had many friends come over to play or spend the night. My mom didn't like people to come over, and I was embarrassed of the situation at the house. My friends would always ask me, can I come over to your house? And instead of asking, I would say, no, sorry, but I can probably come to yours. My mom depended on me for everything, even our major life decisions, such as moving, where to move, who to date, what bills to pay first, and bringing the bills to the office. In 2010, we moved again. My mom still continued to drink. In my life, my mom and I have moved a total of 16 times. This is because she could no longer pay the bills or be too frightened to stay where we were. It seemed like every time I was just getting comfortable or had made new friends where we were, we would move without notice. I would get really sad every time because I had to leave my friends, but I would make new ones. They weren't always true friends, but I learned quickly who my true friends were because they have stuck by my side through everything and are still here to this day. My dad was not always around, but when he was, he would usually be drunk. I would have to ride in the car with him along with my little brother. but my little brother never understood that my dad was drunk. He thought it was fun when my dad swerved and went over big bumps at high speed, and we could have possibly gotten hurt, but luckily we didn't. This is what happened. On September 12, 2011, there was a football game on TV, and my mom asked me if she could have a couple of beers. I agreed and went back to my room. She always felt the need to ask me first, because I would usually make a big deal out of her drinking every night. I would always make her promise to only drink 3 or 4, but at the time I didn't know that 1 is too many and 1,000 is never enough. One of my friends came over for a while. Some time passed, and I came back out of my room and counted on the coffee table. There was 46 beer cans, some empty and some not. I went to my room and started crying. My friend went home, and my mom and her boyfriend got in a big argument, and he left. My mom got mad at me and told me to go after him. I came back because I couldn't find him, and I was scared because it was really late and dark, and when I walked through the door, the first thing I saw was a broken mirror and my mom laying on the floor in a puddle of her blood with a piece of glass in her hand, and her arms were all cut up. I ran to her and cried. I asked her if it was enough to seriously hurt her. She said no and told me she was sorry and to go to the neighbor's house, but don't tell her why, just ask her to call for help. So I did, and the neighbor said yes. I ran back home and went to my mom. She asked me to gather up all the beers and pour them into one can so she could have her last drink, and I did. And after that, she asked me to go lay down so we could act like I didn't see anything, so I wouldn't get taken away. I was really scared and confused, but after a few minutes, she asked me to come sit with her because she was too scared to be alone until help came. Soon afterwards, the police and the ambulance showed up, and I told them the whole story. They told my mom that they would bring me to my grandparents' house, but they would have to call CPS. And I was crying because that was my fear. Because that was what my fear was this whole time. It was really happening. I went to my grand and grandpa's house, and I had a hard time sleeping because I was so worried about what was going to happen to us. The next day I went to school, and I couldn't concentrate at all. I was walking down the hallway, and there was a lady with a briefcase at the office. On the briefcase, it said Child Protective Services. I got really scared, and later that day during lunch, they came to the cafeteria and asked around for Olivia. Everybody got scared and started looking at me. So we went to the supply room, and they asked me a bunch of questions. When the questions were asked, they turned on a video recorder. When they were done, I went back to class, and a lot of people came up to me and asked me even more questions, even the teachers. I avoided everyone for the rest of the day, and when school was over, I came home and cried to my grandma and told her what happened, and she started crying with me, and she said, "I'm sorry." I told her it's not your fault and sat with her for a long time. I went to my grandparents' neighbor's house. They have a son, and I have known them my whole life, and so has the rest of my family. I told them I needed to talk to my brother because he was there playing, and his mom looked at my eyes and said, "What's wrong, Olivia?" I started crying, and we talked for a long time, and I told her I was scared because my mom was in the hospital, and I was scared I'm not going to get to see her for a long time. And I told her the whole story. She told me that it was going to be okay. She was right, because later that day, my mom came home with stitches in her arm and told me she was going to AA. She was going to work the program, and she was going to do everything she could to make everything better. This was on September 13, 2011. I was mad at my family for putting me through that stuff. All I wanted was a normal, non-alcoholic family. I still have a hard time forgetting all the bad memories, but it's time to start filling myself up with the good memories instead of the bad. I always wondered why God had given me this life and why He would let all this happen to me. But now I know why He had given me this life. It's so I can do what I'm doing right now, helping other teens and kids with my experience. I had been asking my mom about a room at the AA hall. She told me that used to be the Alateen room, but they had moved their meetings to another group. I asked her what Alateen meant, and she told me that it was a place for kids and teens who have alcoholic family or friends. I kept asking to go for about a year, and she finally agreed and brought me there on a Tuesday night. I was only 9, but they let me stay because I acted maturely, paid attention, and wanted help very badly. This was about a year and a half ago. I fell in love with Alateen in my first meeting. I would like to thank my Alateen group because everybody was nice to me and treated me like I was family. It was comforting to know that I'm not the only one with an alcoholic parent and that I'm not alone. I got a sponsor and started taking the steps. I'm currently on step 5. Steps 1, 2, and 3 taught me that I'm powerless over my parents' disease and everything else except myself and my attitude. It has taught me that there is a God and that He is in control. I have to remember to let go and let God and just be a kid. I love attending meetings where newcomers come in so I can talk to them and help them with my experience and what I have learned in the program. I do my best every day to just work on me, to love myself, to not blame myself for everything that has happened in my life. Also, to just let my mom and dad be where they are in their lives and try not to nag, control, or be in too big of a fuss. I know that this program, just like all other programs, are based on progress, not perfection. There are days when my mom and I don't get along so well, but at the end of the day, apologies are made and accepted, and I move on to what is important. Working a program that has been a miracle to us both. My awesome mom did as she said she would because even today she's almost 3 years sober, and that has led her to many good things. Like right now, she is volunteering at the VA, which is a place where veterans who fought for our country come to get their blood drawn. My mom is currently a phlebotomist, which is someone who draws blood. Mom, I couldn't be more proud of you. You've amazed me with how far you've come. Thank you for keeping your promise. And my dad, he's not sober yet, but he doesn't drink as much because he got a job on a boat. He works 20 days on the boat and comes home for 10. I couldn't be more proud of you either, Daddy. I love you so much, and I love Candace, which is my awesome stepmother. I really appreciate you. Thank you for loving Mom and Dad as much as I do. If you're new to Al-Anon or Alateen, just keep hanging on, not for the alcoholic that you love, but for yourself. It will get better, trust me. I would like to thank you all again for letting me share my story, and I would like to thank Miss Mary for putting up with my craziness. That must be hard. Thank you.